gonna rain. Nice looking day though. So, working on selling the engine out of this on eBay, and right now I just got the trans jack underneath of the Patrol to hold up the fuel tank. I'm gonna pull that, just get my bearings straight on what I want to do with that before I go too hard up front. So we're gonna pull out this big beast. Even though it still runs and drives, it's leaking a little bit of brake fluid, and part of the engine swap is getting rid of this weird brake system that's on these things. So it's, if you're familiar with these things, they have two different pumps that run off of the camshafts on the engine. That's how they build brake pressure. They use mineral oil, not brake fluid, with these balancing spears all around and everything, and two calipers on the front on per wheel, and then one on the back. It's a pretty elaborate setup on these things, but it's way overkill. So the game plan is to put a GM Hydro Boost setup on this, and then I'm going to use Nissan 300ZX calipers, front calipers on all four wheels. So I need 3 pairs of calipers. I just want to make brackets for the rotors. I'm going to use the stock rotors and all that. But yeah, she got a brake fluid leak, so don't really want to drive her too much because it's not safe. No lights or anything, but when you're underneath of it, you can see it on the back of the caliper. So I'm going to pull this bitch into the grass. But yeah, someone else has already asked me about this motor. Like, this thing runs great. Hey, look, great oil pressure. Oil level is, now let's do this, right where it should be. No tack on these things, but thing runs great for a 30-some-year-old motor. So I gotta pull that wheel off right there. So I'm gonna clean up the garage just a little bit. I gotta fix that too. I got a leaking hose on it, but like I said, it's to the point where right now it just gets backed in, backed out until the motor's sold. Don't really want to pull the motor, but because it's not drivable right now, it's drivable. I just don't. I'm not going to spend a couple grand fixing a brake leak because it's super expensive for those parts. That's money I could use towards the swap, so I don't want to dump money into that just to tinker around and beat it on the weekends. It's fine the way it is, you know. So yeah, let's get this tank pulled out of here and see how we're looking. Oh, I did this at work the other day. I brought the cover. I used an RB26 backing plate that I just sold, actually. Bolted it together and you know, kind of went from there. Did the drill out for the 25 cam through it. Pretty common stuff. I've done it before, but one thing I did notice though is I can't get the hardware to sit super tight. Like, they're in all the way. This is that hardware from Dress Up Bolts. It's a pretty expensive kit, like 200 some bucks. I guess I'm supposed to use the factory washers on them. Maybe, maybe not. I'm gonna get rubber washers to put behind those. So I do like all the purple hardware on this thing. And oh, started notching out for my throttle bracket the other day. Yeah, I just been going slow. I'm waiting on a bunch of parts to come in, so I want to get this thing done, but I'm getting old, so it's getting harder and harder to work on this thing all night. I'm not young no more. All right, let's get this wheel off, and we'll start looking at this tank. So there she is in all her ugly glory. So this is some kind of aftermarket tank that goes long ways under the truck versus the factory tank that goes in the back. So it's the factory sending unit, which does not have a pump. It's just a sending unit only with an in and an out line because it was a mechanical fuel pump motor. So yeah, this is a steel tank. That's the feed, that's the return. This is a this is for the purge solenoid, filler neck, and vent to the top of the fuel cap. So my idea behind this was I wanted to modify this tank anyhow, because right here is where the control arm mounts, and if you flex hard enough, it's going to hit the tank right there. So I kind of wanted to cut that out, but leave that mounting area there. The other thing we could do is just cut it across there. That way, it's the back of the tank that I'm worried about. So we just need a new drain bung and stuff on it. That's not too hard of a mod to make on this. I had bought that sump, but this fuel tank already sits a little low, so I can't really use that in the location that it's at. But then for shits and giggles, I was just like, you know what, I don't know if I want the tank underneath the body where it's going to get hit all the time anyhow, because it does sit about an inch lower than the frame rail, and that's kind of sketchy, so it's not a good design. I kind of wonder if I turn it sideways the way that it is, if I can still bottom sump this thing and just mount it where the old one used to be. It wouldn't be too bad at all. To put everything back to the location that we used to be from the factory. So that's what I was thinking. I thought about just putting it back underneath. So I'm going to wheel it around, and I'm going to just jack it up there to see if it, or eyeball it for now to see if it'll work. And then, you know, we'll go from there. There's someone here. I don't know who the hell they are. Just asked around online, and someone measured an S13 one, and it was 9 inches with the float all the way down. This one measures 7, but I could adjust the float. So I think I'm just going to put an S13 sending unit in this, and I already have a fuel pump to put in that. So I'll just convert it using an S13 one, and then just put weld and fittings onto the top hats there. Probably just 2 number 6s. Yeah, so that's good information. So I can just use it EFI and baffle the tank with a little bit of foam. Not bad at all. Alright, so I'm going to jump in maybe a little bit more wiring on this. So, just going over fittings and stuff. I decided not to do any electrical stuff right now, so I dug out my pressure regulator. It's just resting on here loose. Used one factory hole, drilled the second hole. So my feed line's going to come up from the rear and feed to this 180 fitting, and then my return's going to come out the back over there. And then what I'm going to do with that is I'm actually going to take a 90 out the back, cross over underneath the heater core hoses through here, and come into the side of the regulator here, and then this will be out to the tank over here. That way I can sneak on down, catch the frame rail, avoiding that steering shaft right there. Looks like a mess right now. And then I was looking at clocking the turbo and whatnot over here. I still got to pull that adapter off to get that on a belt sander, get it straightened out. I'm going to send the compressor housing out for powder. So I had my throttle body just held up. Took a measurement. I need to get 120 degree either coupler, which I can't find online, or I need to have someone bend me a piece of pipe on a mandrel for 120. Doesn't really matter, but what I'd like to do is bend it as close as possible. And I want the intercooler barrel. I'm using a barrel water to air intercooler on this. So the radiator is going to come out 2 inches. I'm going to try to have the intercooler right here. So it'll suck to do timing and stuff, but it'll hide everything. And then since the back of the truck's now going to be open, that's where I'll mount the tank and the heat exchanger for the air to water intercooler. So that'll be mounted underneath the back of the truck, just blowing downwards. Hey, yeah, Bentley. Yeah, so we got a good understanding on that. The upper radiator hose is going to be that adapter with a million gazillion fittings on it. So these are the 4 fittings that come out of the intake manifold. So they're already welded on before powder. So 1, 2, 3, and then the fourth one is angled down a little bit. So they're going to be 90 degrees, 6 ANs. So each one of those is 3/8 of an inch. I know it seems small, but it's more than an inch and a third on the hose when you combine them all together. Larger than factory. So 90s are going to come up as a bunch of hoses. I'm going to bring them up to the very top here. I'm going to make some holders, probably some nice aluminum ones. And then this is going to be mounted on the radiator right here. I think it's right here that the neck goes on. And then those 4 fittings are going to come in there. And one of these is for the factory ECU coolant temperature. One's for the dash coolant temperature. I got a 1/8 MPT, whatever. And then I'm putting another 6 AN fitting on right here. So that'll be like right here. And what that's going to do is, there's that other port on that radiator. It's for like a steam. It's from the top of the TB42. It was like a steam vent. Instead of just putting a plug on it, I figured I'd just use it for circulation. And that hose will just jump along with the other one, so you won't even notice it. It's just gonna go straight 90 instead of turn with a 90. But it'll look all nice when it's all done. And then the intercooler setup. I think what I'm gonna do is bring this guy down here, do a cast 90, kick it through here, probably hit a 45 or whatever it needs to hit the barrel. The barrel's 15 inches long end to end, and then out of that barrel I need that 120 with the small coupler. So that's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass. I'm going to need help on that. I am not a welder, especially, well, I don't want aluminum, put it that way. I will destroy that. And then yeah, just got to send some parts out for powder. Most of the wiring is done. So fuel system's completely figured out today. So I'm going to be using the S13 sending unit. I'm going to use, I have an Aeromotive 340 Stealth in the shed, so it doesn't cost me anything. I've made over 500 horsepower on the wheels on that same exact pump in my not the GTR, the R33. Get down off the fence, dickhead, come on. So I trust it, it'll be fine. So just do an in-tank setup, put that back in with the back of it chopped off. Fuel system will be wrapped up. Cooling system's pretty much wrapped up. I ordered a RB30 Nissan Patrol bottom hose. The upper hose, I just explained, I'm making that. Just gonna finish notching that out for the throttle body, and then do the air to water setup, and hopefully my transfer case adapter is here in the next 2 weeks. It should be on its way from Australia. I don't know what's going on right over there with the whole coronavirus deal. Like, I know that they're having some lockdowns as well, so I don't know if the postage is working, but it's paid for. Not too worried about it. Oh, and talk about the catch can setup on this thing. Every time I do an RB, I do 2 catch cans. One off the intake pipe, one off the intake manifold. So this is a vibrant one-way valve. Keep boost from entering the valve cover. So I got a 10 AN joiner that's going to go here. I'm going to just 90 over. The catch can is actually going to get mounted right down there. 10 AN in. And the outlet is going right onto that. That was already welded on for that reason. The other one over here, we'll do something very similar. Just got to watch the hot piping. I'll probably do a 45. That way I'm not putting it right into the down pipe. Come around the top of the battery and in. But I'm going to mount the other catch can right here, and the other line is going to go right into the charge pipe. But yeah, so this is just a one-way valve. Don't have to worry about it on the other side. The breathers are connected together essentially. One will be doing more work under different conditions. I might actually tie them together. Yeah, I might end up doing T fittings and crossing them over. This will still be in effect. only on this side, only on the manifold side. So essentially, under vacuum, that's my pressure on the negative pressure on the crankcase. And then when we're not on vacuum, the suction from the turbo will be enough suction to the other catch can. And they're not expensive catch cans. They're just some eBay ones for like 20 some bucks each. I've used these in other cars. They're actually really nice. So got a dipstick with an O-ring on it. The top has an O-ring. It unthreads. So basically what we're doing is just gonna sand that part down, weld 10 fittings on it, and